Ready to explore the cutting edge of digital infrastructure? I'm Carrie Charles, your host of Let's Get Digital. Join me as we dive into the ideas, technologies, and leaders transforming the way we connect. From wireless telecom to fiber networks, data centers, and beyond. Sponsored by Broadstaff in partnership with RCR Wireless News. Now, let's dive in and let's get digital. Thanks for joining me today on Let's Get Digital. I'm Carrie Charles, your host, and I have the pleasure today of having with me virtually David Bacino. He is the Towers operating partner for Palistar Capital and also now serving as the CEO of Symphony Towers. Dave, thanks for joining me. I'm excited you're here.
Yeah, Carrie, thanks for inviting me. Great topic, and I appreciate your time.
Yes, so I've been doing so many shows on data centers and energy for data centers lately. So this is exciting. We get to talk about towers, the backbone of connectivity. So first and foremost, I want to know about you. So tell me a little bit about just your background, your experience, and how you got here today to the CEO seat of Symphony Towers.
Well, I've been in this ecosystem, 40 years now, believe it or not. So I've been with a carrier, I've been with infrastructure manufacturers, I've been with infrastructure ownership, and now I've gotten to be with the investor that owns and holds these, and now we're operating Symphony Towers. So, in a quick snapshot, I spent early years with Next Telecommunications, so I got to see the carrier side of the world. I then got to spend some time with a satellite provider called TerreStar Networks, so I got to see competitive infrastructure. Then I went to a company called PowerWave Technologies, and we built splitters, diplexers, antennas, part of the core infrastructure that went into the networks. I spent some time at American Tower, and then I was able to join Palistar, and we invest in digital infrastructure. And as you can see, we've assembled over 3,000 assets in Symphony, and I'm running Symphony Towers through today.
What do you love about the industry, Dave? What just keeps you in it?
You didn't put that down as one of my questions, Carrie, okay?
But you told me I could ask anything.
No, you are. It's work. That's fine. I love that it's a product that's being used by everyone, and it's a commonplace offering that no matter who you're talking to, they have an opinion on it. So that I like because I'm connected to everyone in what we're doing. I also like being on the infrastructure side, that you're really on the fulfillment end of, call it a proposition. The needs generation is done by people that use these wireless products. The fulfillment is the infrastructure in place to deploy the connectivity, which is the wireless network that allows that device to function the way it does. So it's been a great industry. I actually have a paperweight on my desk right here, and it says right place, right time. And I didn't coordinate that. It's just what happened. And so I've been very excited to spend 40 years doing this.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's talk about Symphony Towers. Tell me all about it, all about the company, and also about what makes you different.
Well, Symphony Towers is owned by Palistar Capital, so we have a strong financial backer, and we're 3,000 assets that are rooftops and towers. When I say we're supported by a financial backer at Palistar, it gives us the capital to acquire new rooftops and acquire new towers, and then to offer those to the carriers as they deploy their networks. And their networks have either challenges from a capacity standpoint or a coverage standpoint, and so we try to align with their needs and either buy more towers or buy more rooftops, which brings value to the carrier community as well as helps us be a common interface with those infrastructure owners.
So you're sitting at the crossroads of real estate and telecom. What are or why are towers such an exciting opportunity for property owners right now?
Well, I would say that the property owner, on land, there's two ways to really look at it. A property owner can be a building owner, and his or her rooftop is available for co-locations of the wireless carriers. So it's really a tower that the carrier doesn't have to build. They just use the rooftop location. So that's of great value to them, and that is a crossroads of real estate. The other is if you're a landowner and you work a partnership or relationship with a tower company, and you lease or sell the land so the tower can be built there. So both of those are financial transactions that would make a property owner or a building owner, I was delineating between land or structure, that more valuable than they presently see it.
So break down the revenue side for us. How can rooftops become income generating assets for, like you said, apartments, hotels, offices, all other properties?
Well, I won't go into the exact math that goes behind it, but what happens is, if you own a building or an apartment and you have your tenants inside of those buildings, well, the rooftop is worth value as well. And normally it's a revenue stream or a lease that the carrier will transact with that building owner and get long-term revenue stream that gets associated with it. Now, at Symphony, one of the things we do is we go to that building owner and say, why don't we buy the economic rights through an easement for that rooftop, and then we can continually market that and make it an available site to carriers as they deploy their networks for either capacity or coverage requirements.
So, what does the future look like for rooftop deployments? And where's the biggest opportunity right now that you see?
Two questions in one, but I would say the future looks bright. I mean, as long as people continue to use their wireless products, that's the front end demand driver. There's going to be a requirement for more infrastructure. The only way you can fill more demand of a wireless product is by more spectrum or by greater utilization of that spectrum, which is by putting more infrastructure points of presence for the deployment of radio frequencies into place. So it's extremely strong because, I have 3 children that use their phones continually. There's new apps on it every single day. So I think the requirement for capacity and demand is only growing. So I think building and rooftop owners will continue to see more and more value because people need more and more locations to deploy their radio frequency as a carrier.
And the opportunities are practically endless because there's new buildings being built all the time, right? New developments being built. So those are opportunities for you to go there and provide rooftop, right? Rooftop coverage.
They are, but once a town or an ordinance provides zoning to one rooftop, they're normally not going to provide it to, 5 buildings in one zip code. They like to kind of keep the carrier's installations at a common location, which is fine. So I won't say unlimited. I liked how you said that because the more demand, the more requirements that they'll need from a location standpoint. But it does have some requirements around approvals and zoning commissions saying that can be zoned a communication site.
Okay. Let's talk about the tower industry today and the way that you see it. There's just been a lot going on, a lot in the news. And, there's layoffs, there's things happening on the wireless side that, with Dish and this, there's just all kinds of, I guess, activity that we've noticed. So what's happening right now? And then where do you see the tower industry going, let's say in the next 5 years?
I see it all positive. Okay. I see it's all by that demand creation, which is how much people use a wireless product and what the applications for wireless products are. So today we think of it as voice, we think of it as data, we think of it as content over wireless devices. Now you have mobile cars, you have autonomous driving. I think all that's growing. So I think you called it the tower industry, I'm going to say the infrastructure industry, which is a building, a tower, or anything that's zoned for communication services, which light poles are even getting those today if you take a look at what's happening on the top of light poles. So I think there's just greater and greater demand because of the requirement of the user. So I think every single year we're going to see this industry grow. I think we're going to see the requirements for the industry grow. And then I think when we understand what's happening between the next generational shift of RF deployment, which is 5G to 6G, I'm not an engineer to do the analysis for you, but if the requirement is with less power, if you have less power, you actually need more points of infrastructure. So you're going to have more requirements for towers, more requirements for rooftops to keep the same network performance that the user is accustomed to. So your question is, what do I think is happening in the industry? I think it continues to grow. What do I think it's going to be in 5 years? I think it grows every year for the next 5 years. I think that's actually 10, 15, and 20 years. It's just wireless connectivity, I think, is not going away.
Well, that's good news for job seekers. So love hearing it. Beyond mobile, what new use cases are emerging for towers that people may not necessarily be thinking about right now?
Well, we define mobile as the phone and handset that we all carry around today. But, you know, public safety, first responders, search and rescue, autonomous driving, you know, device tracking. There's a huge array of other wireless connected requirements that are happening out there today. So yeah, people normally think about our industry as the three big tenants, which would be AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. But we talk to multiple other application providers that need connectivity, and they're doing it wirelessly today.
Okay, I love hearing this. It's all positive. I'm getting inspired. So I want to talk a little bit more about 6G. I mean, from your perspective, what's happening around 6G, and also will it reshape or change the tower world?
I haven't seen the specifications on 6G, so it's really hard to comment on that. I think it will enforce their needs and requirement for infrastructure. And so I used the example earlier that if 6G is a lower power radio frequency deployment, you're going to need more towers. If it's higher powered, well, it's providing faster services and benefits for the applications, which I think people just use them more, which means people need more network, more connectivity, which means you need more infrastructure. So once again, as you can see, I see it in a positive fashion.
I want to talk a bit about satellite systems, LEO, Starlink. How do you see satellites impacting tower strategy? Is it competition, complement, something else? What do you see in the future here?
I see it as a complement. As you heard earlier, I actually spent a few years at a satellite provider, so I have a feeling of how that actually works. I think the macro networks that we see today, which is what delivers your connectivity through radio frequency deployment, those aren't going to change. I think this is an overlay to provide fill-in. I think there's some applications in remote rural areas. You heard me earlier, you said what other applications use. If you take like search and rescue, like, BLM land, people are not wanting to build towers there as strongly now. So I think satellite can fill some of those in. I don't think it jeopardizes any of the networks that are in place today. I don't think it jeopardizes any of the growth for the frequencies and spectrum that the carriers own. I think it's an add-on adjunct, which is only complementary.
Okay, that's good to know too. We actually use Starlink. I spend a lot of time in Puerto Rico. And just like you said, we don't really have many cell phone towers around us and, not really good Wi-Fi. So Starlink works for us there.
Yeah, there's also a math equation that goes with that. So, if the population's there and you have the user demand, then a tower might make sense. But, there's other elements that go into it too. You have power and backhaul that all needs to go to each tower. And so if you don't have the ability to create a replacement of those costs, then satellite might work. But right now, your first question was, where do I see it? I see it as a complementary service.
Okay. Let's go back to Symphony Towers and talk about company culture. And I know that, that's something that's really important to you. What is the culture of Symphony Towers and what makes it just a great place to work from your perspective?
It's interesting, Carrie, we talked about this earlier. I said, we maybe should start with this question versus end with this question, because to me, that's what makes Symphony Towers so successful. That's how the team bonds together. That's how we drive towards common goals. This industry changes all the time. You've asked me a bunch of things about, what's happening with frequencies, what's happening with, different technology platforms, what's happening across the board with applications. So I want to create a culture where, one, we're all flexible. We all put our arms around problem solving. And we talk about taking the hill together at Symphony. So it's not independent functional groups. It's one business unit that says, here's what we're driving towards as a goal and a strategy for the organization. But we're a tight-knit group. We're small, but we're strong. We're nimble. I think we have a good ear and listen to the customer. So, very customer driven. So I don't know how you put a single word on what that means from a culture, but strong in its energy. People are happy to work there, and we put a lot of focus on that, especially when we evaluate that on a quarterly and semi-annual basis.
What about leadership, Dave? What are some principles that just really guide you when it comes to being a leader?
I like this podcast because you gave me a list of 5 questions, and you now asked me 4 that you didn't even put on there. But
You're doing great, by the way. Thank you. Thank you for answering these.
I would say, In leadership, and I'm not trying to say it from me, but in general, I think that a leader needs to be clear with their message. I think they need to be trusted. I think they need to be visible. And I think that they need to also give feedback. So I think that way that culture stays linked together, and I think everyone is commonly focused. I also think that leaders need to be decision makers. I think they need to make a decision, right, wrong, or indifferent. You can adjust, but you can't sit and evaluate forever. So I guess those are some attributes to leadership. Maybe we can write a book on it.
Yes.
That people are successful with. That's just a quick reaction to your question.
Yes, no. And thank you for answering a few questions that I didn't prepare you for. I'm just in the moment with you, Dave. I'm in the moment.
No, there we go. There we go.
The vision, the long-term vision for Symphony Towers. What do you see? What are you creating?
Oh, I see a great partnership with the carrier community. So there's two ways I can look at that, Carrie. One is, what are we creating for an infrastructure owner as we relate to wireless carriers? I see us creating an organization that provides needed infrastructure, that's flexible, that understands what the carriers need. When you come to contracting, that's the terms and conditions that they're executing to join our rooftop or our towers. That's one thing we're creating. I think when you look at it as an investor, because that's where Palistar comes into it, we're creating a vehicle of assets that have long-term stability to their revenue streams, that grow every year through escalators and additional use, because you asked, do people need the towers and rooftops more? So I think both of those are being created as Symphony grows and progresses on a yearly basis.
All right. I think we are done. I'm finished with the questions, unless you just want me to keep going.
No. Listen, I appreciate the time. I appreciate what you do for our industry, Carrie. You're always bringing additional value to all of us with your insight, with your podcast, as well as your company. And I look forward to seeing you at many more of the industry events that are coming up in 2026.
Sounds good, Dave. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really had fun. Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
Thanks for tuning in to Let's Get Digital. This podcast is powered by Broadstaff, a national staffing firm specializing in digital infrastructure talent. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and join me next time as we explore more stories at the intersection of technology, talent, and transformation. Until then, let's get digital.